All right, so here we are in the shop again for the next project on the farm. Something a little unique to the farm on this project here. We actually have our wife picked up a reptile, so now we actually have a Sulcata tortoise. So today we're going to be building a tortoise habitat. Now I'm going to be basing this off of a 2 foot by 4 foot sheet of plywood. I got 3/4 inch plywood here that I'm going to use for the base, and then we're going to make the walls out of 1 by 10s. The one thing that I did have to make sure that we're going to do with this though is, because we have to keep the humidity high for this tortoise, we are actually going to treat the entire inside of this with chopping block oil, so that I know it's non-toxic. So if he does happen to chew on any of the wood or get a hold of it, nothing's going to be toxic to the animal. The other thing I'm going to do is all along the edges of this wall where it's going to stand up, I want to make sure we have a good positive seal. So I actually got a waterproof non-toxic caulking. I'm going to run a really thin bead along here, and then I'm going to go through and pre-drill all my holes underneath and then kind of screw everything together, so that way I know we're totally watertight. And on the outside of it, I've also got a non-toxic, water resistant polyurethane that I'm going to put on the whole outside of it. And once we get this structure done, depending on how much time I have, I'm also thinking about building a stand to kind of make this portable and putting some wheels on the bottom of it so my wife can move it around the house wherever she needs to. So let's kind of get this laid out and let's get started. All right, so I got the first bit down. I got the sealant in there, everything kind of squeezed out like I was hoping it would, and then I just kind of brushed it down to make sure I got a good tight seal. So now I'm going to finish getting this all up. I won't video that because it's all the same thing. So it's all just going down with that first one, just running the bead. So let's go ahead and get the rest of this built, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do on the inside. All right, so there we are, all framed up here. I'm going to let this sit overnight because I want to let all the caulk and all the adhesive and everything have at least 24 hours to dry before I start messing with it. So while this is drying, what we're going to work on is we're going to build a little tiny hut over here that's going to mount in the corner so that he has an area to go to that he can actually kind of tunnel up in. And the other thing we're going to work on, which I have underneath here, is we're going to work on a stand. Because I want to have this to where my wife can just stand right in front of it and actually reach into it. So I'm going to build this where the top of the stand is about 3 feet tall. So I'm going to move this off here and let's get working on the base. Alright, so I went ahead and cut everything. So this is going to be the base. This will give her a nice shelf to kind of keep all the supplies and everything for the tortoise on. But what I want to do here on the sides is I don't want to exposed, so I'm actually going to go through and Craig jig everything from the bottom and all down the inside edge of these. But then what I also want to do is when I run the 2x4 along here, which everything's going to rest on, I'm going to drop it down about 1.5 inches. So that way the actual tortoise habitat here will drop down inside here, and then I'm going to run a decorative 1x4 strip all the way around the outside of it. So it all looks like it's one whole continuous cage, but then you'll actually be able to lift the tortoise habitat out if we're, say, taking it to somebody's house, or if we want to bring him outside. Instead of having to move the entire cage, you can actually just take the top half of it out. So let's go ahead and get all these Craig jigs. It's going to take a while. We'll get these all Craig jigged and kind of glued and put together, and hopefully we'll kind of lay everything out here tomorrow. Alright, so we don't waste any of the scraps. This is what I came up with here with some of the leftovers to kind of build him a little hut in the corner that he can get in and out of. I do know that the tortoises like to kind of get in the dark, so I figured this leftover scrap wood. I'll just build this in the corner. And because sometimes the tortoises will get in there and it's hard to get them out, what I'm going to end up doing here with the lid is I'm just going to go get some magnets, and I'm going to drill and install some magnets here up on the top. So that way this lid will stay secure, but it'll be easy for my wife or whoever's watching the tortoise to just take that off and have easy access to get them out. So I'm going to go grab some magnets. We'll get that installed to get this all glued in, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with this side, because I want to try to hide this. This is the other handle, and I'm thinking what I might do over here is just kind of like a little ramp, kind of up and over and down, so he has something he can kind of climb on, and another little thing to kind of get underneath. So we'll get this one glued in first, and then we'll figure out what we're going to make down here at this end. Alright, so as we kind of go along here, I've had a little change of plans here. I initially was going to put this so that this will actually drop down and in. I just didn't like how tight it was, and the other problem I run into is we live in the Pacific Northwest, so here in Washington the humidity is ridiculous. So with the swelling and everything in the wood, I didn't want a chance at getting too tight. So what I chose I'm going to do with instead is I have this leftover plywood that actually goes like in the bottom of like your drawers and stuff that we're going to use for our van. So I'm going to use that for a top. And then what I'm also going to do is I'm going to use that for filling in these gaps here on the sides, just to kind of give it a couple different tones. So I'll have like this finished brown look on the outside, so when I stain this, I'll have a different look, and that'll seal off the bottom of the box and give it a little bit more stability as far as the structure as I nail everything together. But I think what I'm going to do here on the sides, because I still want to be able to take this off, I think I'm going to run one of the 1x out here So this will actually still kind of slide in, but I'm just going to give it just a little bit of a gap so I have room for swell. And then on the front, because I don't want to be able to see this plywood here, I'm going to take one of the 1x4s and put a little furring strip along the front so it actually seals up so it all looks like it's actually all part of this cabinet. And then you won't actually know it actually slides out until you actually grab it and try to pull it out. So let me get some of those cut, get it on here, and we'll see how it all finishes out. All right, just got the first coat of sealant on here, so I figured I'd kind of give you a walkthrough as everything's kind of drying. So down here on this end, I got the casters installed so this can pivot really nice and easy on this side. You can see we got these little drawer handles here, so it'll be easy for my wife to grab that and move it wherever she needs to. And then this upper handle here, we have one on either side of this, so it'll be easy to grab this and actually take the whole tortoise habitat. And if we want to take him outside, let him enjoy some sunshine, it'll be really quick and easy to take it off. So now over here on the front, because I did want to try to make it look like this is a sealed habitat, this little 1x across the front of this actually goes down and sits flush underneath here. So when we take it off, we can set it right on the ground, but then it just kind of guides right back on. So you can see I kind of notched this to kind of build like a little channel. So it just guides it right back into place. And I left about a 1/2 inch gap on the either side of this, just with shrink and swell with humidity and heat and everything that's going to go on. So that way we don't have to worry about it getting too tight in there and not being able to get it out. So up here on the top, we do have a nice little wire gate fencing that I used on the inside of here to make sure that our cat, and in case we do have him somewhere else, no animals can actually get access to the tortoise. I just put this as a little decorative strip since the same color that I have over here on the sides, just to kind of keep the theme looking the same. I got some, nice little black hardware, basic hardware for it here. So now when this opens up, you can see here, so here's his little hideout. So I just put a little drawer handle on it, and on the inside of it, I actually put just cabinet magnets under the lid here, so when you put it back on, those magnets actually will hold that in place. So if he is hiding out in there, it'll be easy for my wife to grab him and move him out. So now I did get the first coat of chopping block oil in here. This wood is soaking it up pretty fast, so I'm guessing it's going to take at least 3 coats of that chopping block oil inside here. The only reason I really went with that is because then I know it's non-toxic. It's probably not the most cost-effective way to do it, but it's what I have at the house, so that's what I'm going to use. I'm hoping to get away with just 2 or 3 coats. I'm more concerned with the coats on the inside than on the outside, so I'm definitely going to do at least 3 coats on the inside. I'll probably do 2 out here. I did get the first one on. I'll come back to a final sanding and then get 1 more coat on there, and then we should be good to go. The next video, what I'll do is once I give this to my wife for Christmas, since it is a present here, so I still have the lights to install. I'm going to put a light switches underneath, and still going to get the inside of the habitat all set up. So I'll do a video after Christmas once we actually have the tortoise in this habitat, and I'll have my wife show me how we can actually easily take this habitat on and off on the top here. So next video will be here in a few weeks after Christmas. All right, so now we have the tortoise habitat all set up inside the house here. So you can see we've added the rock and we got all the lights over here, getting ready to put those in. My wife's added the water here, so we have all of his peat moss and his little mixture inside here. So we got 2 different places for him to hide out. He has this little one we made out of a pot. Then he has the one here that we added with it. And then here's our little Sulcata. Cute little guy. So the nice thing, the way everything adjusts here, is we actually just drop this little handle. It just drops and stays inside. So now we've set this up to where these lights just pivot right over, so my wife can open and close this without having to take anything off. So these lights can come right over, and then we have a UV lamp here that we bring out here and set on here as well. So now he's got all of his lights on here, and then up here on this bookshelf that I built, we hang the lights. So this is the one my wife uses at night. So that way he gets some darkness, so we turn all these lights off so these can slide out of the way. The UV light just hangs up here on the hook, and then this one comes down to kind of keep everything so it stays warm while he's sleeping. So now he's got about twice the square footage that he needs from what he had before. We can keep all his extra accessories and everything stored down underneath. It all looks like it came together pretty good. He's in there moving around, checking stuff out. My wife really likes it, so that's a win for me. So everything looks like it all worked out pretty well. Well, thanks for joining us for another project there. Hope you enjoyed it. If you got any questions, throw them in that comment section. I'll do whatever I can to answer them all for you. If you really enjoyed this project, which kind of not really farm related since it was for a tortoise, but a little DIY project, hit that subscribe button. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you around.